Good evening. My name is Judy Witrago, and tonight I'll be presenting the case Grimshaw versus Ford Motor Company for Business 347, Legal Environment of Business, Session 2, Fall 2024. The significance of this case in relation to the legal environment of business is that this is an example of tort law, specifically product liability. It highlights the impact of corporate decision-making on consumer safety or over consumer safety, and it established a precedent for punitive damages in future product liability cases. Now, before we dive into the case details, let's go ahead and connect the legal concepts to the Ford Pinto's design issues as illustrated here in this image. For product liability, this image shows key design flaws in the Pinto that led to its vulnerability during collisions or after collisions are impacted. The fuel tank was placed way too close to the rear bumper, making it prone to breakage in rear end collisions or any type of collision, even on its sides. There were weak bumpers, and inadequate construction further amplified the risk, meaning it increased the risk from any type of impact because of its weak bumpers, and the filler tube could detach, increasing the chance of fuel spillage and explosion. Negligence. Despite recognizing these issues during pre-production testing, Ford still chose to not modify the design. They prioritized cost savings over safety, demonstrating legally careless conduct. Duty of care. Ford owed a duty of consumers to design vehicles safe for reasonable use. However, the Pinto's flaws made it nearly impossible for passengers to escape in the event of a fire. In punitive damages, the devastating consequences, like door jamming shut and the fire spreading into the passenger compartment, showed a willful disregard for human life, which is why punitive damages were awarded. This image visually underscores the dangerous design of the Pinto and highlights how the legal concepts product liability, negligence, and duty of care apply to this case. Now we can go ahead and go into the definition of the legal concepts relevant to this case, which I also previously explained in describing the image. Product of liability is legal responsibility of a manufacturer or seller for producing or selling a faulty product. Negligence. Negligence is a breach of duty causing harm. And punitive damages. Punitive damages is monetary penalties meant to punish and deter any type of exaggerated misconduct. Here, the misconduct was that Ford willingly and knowingly was aware of these potential harms and still moved forward with manufacturing. For the case information, some important facts and background. The parties involved were the plaintiffs, Richard Grimshaw, whom was a minor at the time, and the family of Lily Gray, who died, whom was the victim of a fatality upon the collision in an accident while driving a Ford Pinto. The defendant here is the Ford Motor Company. For the case background, the Ford Pinto was designed with a rear-mounted gas tank that was prone to explosion in low-speed collisions, or any type of collisions impacting either side of the vehicle toward the back end. Evidence showed Ford conducted a cost-benefit analysis, valuing potential lives lost less than the cost of redesigning the entire vehicle, meaning it was going to cost them more to reproduce and redesign the vehicle over paying out potential victims of any harm that may be caused by the vehicle, which turned out that it was a greater impact on them ethically. The analysis of the significant legal facts, the main issue here was that did Ford act negligently in its design and safety testing on the Pinto? And should Ford be held accountable for prioritizing profits over human safety? The legal findings were that the jury found Ford liable for negligence and awarded both compensatory and punitive damages. As far as the legal outcome, the precedent was that the outcome was that they dispersed and were obligated to pay 125 million in punitive damages, which was later reduced to 3.5 million, and 2.5 million in compensatory damages to Grimshaw, who was a victim of the accident. He survived the accident, but his mother did not. The precedent here was that the case reinforced the duty of manufacturers to prioritize consumer safety over cost considerations. It was a monumental example of corporate accountability and product liability law. The request for relief and impact was that the relief sought by the plaintiff was compensatory damages for medical expenses, pain and suffering and trauma, punitive damages to penalize Ford for its gross misconduct, knowingly that they put out a bad product. And the impact on legal environment of business was that it encouraged stricter and safer standards for consumer products, and it demonstrated the role of punitive damages in deterring corporate misconduct. As far as the case outcome was that Grimshaw was awarded significant damages for his injuries and losses, and Force faced huge backlash, leading to increased focus on ethics in corporate decision making. Now, Ford really defended their place in this because according to Ford, they were just trying to keep up with the competitors, like Volkswagen when they developed the Jetta. Ford was just like, well, we're just trying to compete with, our competitors. But and also they stated that in their defense, they at the time of testing, there were not any laws stating that they had to pass a rear-ending collision test. That was their defense. The reason that I chose this case was because ethics is huge in the workplace and it's now become a more legal issue. So, one of the reasons why I chose this case was to identify malpractices in corporations, um, and also identify how we can upgrade and enhance our ethical procedures. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time.